Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win. I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path, if you want it bad. I'm gonna show you where it's at, yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done, I'll be number one. Working hella hard until I get just what I want, yeah. Rises like the sun, yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I fall, yeah. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a past, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
Hey everybody, happy Saturday. It's finally sunny. Well, it was sunny here in New York. I was really excited, feeling a little motivated to get some things done, and now it's overcast again. So I was hoping we would have some better weather, but unfortunately, seems like it's not going to be as nice as I thought it was going to be. So I see Road Rash was the first one here. Welcome. Shauna B. Karma is a biatch. Hi, I'm Karma. Good to see you. Juju Harris. I'm driving back home from visiting family for Christmas, so won't be in chat unless I stop to take the dog for a walk, but I'm listening. Well, glad you're listening. Glad you're here. Hey, Cool Gamer. Spitfire, aka Pookie. Hey, Malice in Wonderland. Maureen the Nitta. Sinner. Oh, Sinner changed his picture again. Oh, you made it the one that you had shown me before. Cool. I'm gonna put it on screen. So, it's still kind of small, but hey, Ashtastic, thank you. I can't take credit for it. It is a band called Nefex, and they do a lot of non-copyright, royalty-free songs, and it's called Grateful, and I think it suits me very well. Oh, Spitfire, that's sweet. Hey, Unseen, how are you? Tracy Esme. Bernadette. Yeah, it is raining. And actually, it's been raining for this is the third day. Well, it's not raining now, but it was raining the last couple of days. And it's like, I'm not complaining because we don't have snow, but it's just weird not having any snow going into January. So That makes me think that March is going to be rough. It does say it's supposed to be 40 today, so not horrible. And Lori, thank you so much for being a member for 5 months. Much appreciated. And did I miss anybody? I don't think so. There's not many of us here, which is fine. Nice little gathering. Hey, Lacey Ann. Oh, I know, Lacey Ann. I gotta agree with you. I remember, so when my sister graduated from grad school, so that was like late April. Well, no, it was like like late April, early May. They actually got snow and it all melted, thankfully, but they did get a little bit of snow on, overnight before her graduation. That was bizarre. Oh, Spitfire, your grass is still green. Yeah, ours is too. I mean, obviously the leaves have all fallen off the trees and everything's bare, but I mean, I don't know if it's been like in the 20s a few days, but it's been really warm. It's bizarre. I mean, not yesterday, but the Friday before, it was like 60 degrees, which is insane. Hey, Tommy Temper. Yes, I believe it was a tantrum. I think everyone will be able to make their own decision on that, but based on what I've read, this 14-year-old was upset that their mother did not spend the same amount of money as she did his 15-year-old brother. So they got into an argument in which their sister, who was 23, was killed. And it's a sad but very interesting story. Both brothers have been arrested and charged. The brother who shot the sister is being charged with murder, and the brother who shot the sister is being charged with attempted murder, if that made sense. But I have the press conference, which is great because I always like having press conferences because it's law enforcement giving you the facts. They answer questions. Hopefully they make more sense of the situation. It's just I mean, how tragic. And their sister has 2 children. So now her babies are now without a mom. So just really a very messed up story. Hey, Brianna, how's it going? Hey, Petunia, K-Braze. Oh, no worries, Brianna. All right, so we're going to get started. And I'm going to actually start with an article first, just to kind of give a background of... Oh, shoot. Wrong button. So here, this is from USA Today, and this was dated December 27th, so a few days ago. Florida teen fatally shoots sister after argument over Christmas gifts. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. 2 teenage brothers in Florida have been taken into custody after one of them allegedly shot and killed their older sister in an argument over Christmas presents. Pinellas County Sheriff Bob Galtieri said in a news conference that the incident began Sunday afternoon while the 2 brothers were out Christmas shopping with their mother, older sister Abrielle Baldwin, 23, and their sister's 2 children at a store in Largo, a city about 20 miles west of Tampa. Well, in the store, the 15-year-old became jealous and accused his mother of buying more gifts for his 14-year-old brother. They had this family spat about who was getting what and what money was being spent on who. The family left the store and headed to their grandmother's house, where the grandmother was going to watch Baldwin's children, an 11-month-old boy and a 6-year-old boy, while she went to work. At the house, the argument continued. At some point, the 14-year-old took out a handgun and threatened to shoot his older brother. An uncle who was home at the time split the two boys up and had the younger brother move out onto the driveway. Baldwin, who was carrying her 11-month-old baby in a carrier, went outside to speak with her brother. Oops, give me 1 second. Oh. I lost my chat on my phone. You all need to leave that stuff alone, she said to the 14-year-old. Why are you trying to start it? It's Christmas. The teen, quote, used some very, very derogatory language, end quote, before he threatened to shoot her and, quote, shoot the baby too. He then approached his sister and shot her in the chest with a semi-automatic handgun. Baldwin fell to the ground, as did her baby, who was unharmed because he was in a carrier. Hearing the gunshot, the 15-year-old came out of the house, said, quote, you shot my sister, end quote, and fired a handgun at his younger brother, striking him in the stomach. The older brother threw the gun in the neighbor's backyard and fled to a relative's house, where he was later taken into custody by deputies. Because he made self-harm statements, he was taken to a mental health facility where he will be evaluated and then released to the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. Baldwin was taken to a hospital where she was pronounced dead on Christmas Eve. Her children will be placed in the care of her immediate family. Baldwin worked at a senior living facility. The 14-year-old was in stable condition after surgery for his gunshot wound. He will be released, like his brother, to the authorities. The state's attorney's office will decide whether to charge him as an adult for the death of his sister. Now you've got an 11-month-old and a 6-year-old boy. Their mom is dead at the hands of a punk who was upset because he didn't get enough Christmas presents from his mom. It's ridiculous. The sheriff said multiple family members and nearby residents knew the teenagers routinely carried guns. He expressed concern over the high number of stolen guns on the street, saying, this is the worst I've ever seen it. Most of the stolen guns are either sold on the street or have been taken out of unlocked cars. The two teenage brothers had been arrested in connection with numerous car burglaries in May. Oh, and that's it. So when I named it a temper tantrum, that is how I portrayed it, as a temper tantrum. And, oh no, Amy, there was a murder in your area on Christmas Eve? Oh my word. Hey, Mr. Nobody. So Lacey, the 14-year-old, shot and killed the 23-year-old sister. The 14-year-old did. The 15-year-old got mad because the 14-year-old shot the sister, so he shot his brother. So it was the 14-year-old is being charged with his sister's murder. The 15-year-old is being charged with attempting to murder his 14-year-old brother. It's very, unseen. Exactly. Everyone seems to be strapped in that house. Right, K-Braze. Yeah, no, she was intentionally shot. Yes. So, maybe it's a little crass to call this a temper tantrum, but I find, it's Christmas. It should be at least, now that I'm older. I mean, sure, when I was younger, I loved getting presents, and there's always some seeming animosity between, siblings. I had a sister. But it didn't matter. Like, we usually got what we wanted, and that's all that mattered. Oh, Spitfire says, I think I'm going to use this story for my family. It's been a rough 6 months. Maybe they'll appreciate things more after reading this. It's, it's a possibility for sure. Yes, Maureen. Yes. So the 15-year-old, yes, the 15-year-old shot his 14-year-old brother because he was angry that the 14-year-old shot their sister. Yes. Yeah, I thank you for agreeing. It was a temper tantrum. Hey, Truth Seeker. So we're going to move to, I have one video, and then I do have the press conference that we'll listen to. It's about 25 minutes long. And then the second story I have is actually a feel-good story where a man had gotten into a car accident and was rescued after 6 days. And he's in rough shape, but he's alive. And I do have his GoFundMe in the description of this live. And thank you, Lacey Ann, for becoming a new member. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, kids nowadays have very poor emotional regulation. Many of them do. And again, this is just my opinion, but I believe with the advances in technology, they are consistently texting their friends. They're not having face-to-face conversations like, say, I did when I was a kid. We actually wrote notes on paper. And so, it's my opinion that a lot of kids don't know how to use their words. They're reactive instead of proactive. Like, they just react before they can kind of think about, what's happening. Yes, Truth Seeker. This is the story about the Christmas gifts. Yes.
23-year-old mother of 2 is dead.
Oh, sorry, that's really low for some reason. I do have it all the way up. All right, I'll just have to make sure I turn myself down.
After being shot by her own brother on Christmas Eve. Abrielle Baldwin.
And so here you have DeMarcus Coley, May 2nd, 2009. And then you have Darcus Coley, date of birth, January 2008. So this is the 15-year-old. The 15-year-old shot the 14-year-old. The 14-year-old shot his 23-year-old sister, killing her. And not only did he shoot her, but he shot her while she was holding her 11-month-old baby. So I don't understand this.
Baldwin was trying to break up an argument between her siblings when one of them pulled out a gun. Fox 13's Evan Axelbank reports on what has the sheriff furious and the changes he is now calling for.
Photos Abrielle Baldwin posted to social media show her filled with joy.
She's just a woman going about life, doing her thing with her 2 kids, trying to make a living, trying to make it.
On Christmas Eve, while at her grandmother's home on 22nd Avenue in Largo, she'd had enough of her brothers bickering. DeMarcus and Darcus began pulling guns on one another.
Abrielle told DeMarcus, quote, "You all need to leave that stuff alone. Why are you trying to start it? It's Christmas."
They both had been fighting over Christmas presents, with the 15-year-old Darcus jealous that their mom had spent more on gifts for 14-year-old DeMarcus. After Abrielle stepped in, DeMarcus pulled a gun and fired, killing her and sending her son and his nephew, an 11-month-old, falling to the ground. Then Darcus pulled his own gun and shot DeMarcus.
Yeah, and for those of you just coming in, she was holding her 11-month-old baby, but the baby was in a carrier, which helped the baby be uninjured. So the baby was uninjured after falling to the ground because it was secured in a carrier.
Darcus, leaving him badly injured.
This proliferation of guns on the streets and guns in this area and guns in the hands of these kids, this is the worst I've ever seen. I don't think we've ever seen it this bad.
The sheriff says the area around 22nd Avenue in Largo has been subject to extra patrols lately, with 13 gun-related incidents since September. He says his office has gotten reports of 17 guns stolen from unlocked cars. He suspects.
And my question is, I mean, I live in the sticks, like I live in the country, like farm country. And I even lock my car doors. I don't trust anyone, even though I'm in a small town. I mean, there's been times I've forgotten to take my keys out of my door. And thank goodness I live in a really small, trustworthy town. But if you have a gun in your car, my question is, why would you leave your car unlocked? I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess people just don't think that anyone would break into their car. But I just feel it's irresponsible knowing that you have a gun in your car and leaving it unlocked.
The guns used in this shooting were obtained that way.
And people can't leave their car doors unlocked and leave their guns in their cars.
Oh, thank you, sir. I just said the same thing.
It's got to
Thank you.
stop.
Further, the sheriff says both juveniles have been let off the hook too easily by the juvenile justice system, particularly DeMarcus, who has a history of violence against school staff and law enforcement. The sheriff is calling for tougher laws.
They are not.
And that's the other thing. So I know I paused it a little too late, but I know with this case, the other case of the 18-year-old girl who was pregnant and who was killed along with her boyfriend, just seeing some of the images from their social media videos that they have posted, I just feel that, you know, like I always bring up Facebook jail. You know, I was put in Facebook jail for 30 days for saying that boys are gross because they always talk about poop. Yet you can have photos such as what they just showed. And actually, I want to just back up just a little bit, just so that, right? So you can have a photo like this, and that looks like actually Snapchat. So you can post things such as this on Snapchat, or I have seen it on Facebook. I've seen it on not so much Instagram, but you can have photos like this, and it seems like nothing really happens. But you can say the word gross and poop, and you get 30 days in Facebook jail. It just seems a little bass-ackwards, in my opinion.
Enforcement. The sheriff is calling for tougher laws.
They are not getting the consequences that they should get that keep them from doing it again and again and again.
Abrielle was only 23, and now her kids, an 11-month-old and a 6-year-old, will have to grow up without her. Evan Axelbank, Fox 13 News.
DeMarcus has been charged with first-degree murder for shooting his sister. He's in the hospital and expected to recover. Darkus is charged with attempted first-degree murder and is in a mental health treatment facility.
Okay, so, and again, it would just be, you know, my opinion, but possible that, you know, the one that was expressing self-harm, maybe, you know, after his reaction realized, oh my gosh, what did I just do? And again, that's just me thinking, you know, why he would express something like that. We don't know. And hey, Bumma Sammy, how are you? Right. I agree, K-Braze. They're, you know, with those photos, they're giving evidence of their own crimes that could be committed in the future. And what they also don't understand is even though you delete it, which, you know, a lot of, you know, with Snapchat, oh, you know, the post goes away after somebody views it. Well, it goes away for them, but it lasts forever. It's in that like super cloud, the super cloud above us with all the internet info. So they don't get that it's forever. Hey, Mistaken Reaper. So this is the press conference that they held. It is about 25 minutes. I did watch some of it, and it's very informative. So especially for those of you coming in a little bit late, this will give you a bit more context of the story where, again, a family completely shattered because of one person's, in this case, a 14-year-old's poor choice.
All right, so we're here this morning to talk about a homicide that happened here in Largo on Christmas Eve, December 24th at about 1:45 p.m. The victim in the homicide is Abrielle Baldwin, a 23-year-old Black female. Her date of birth is May 5th of 2000. She went by the name of Bree and was a mom to two boys, a 6-year-old and an 11-month-old. The incident happened at 2357 22nd Avenue Southwest in Largo. We've arrested two people, and I'll explain the incident as to what happened. The first person that was arrested is DeMarcus Coley. He's a 14-year-old Black male. Date of birth is May 2nd, 2009. And he's been charged with first-degree murder, child abuse, and being a delinquent in possession of a firearm.
Okay, so I didn't remember that they were also charging him with child abuse, which would apply to his sister holding her 11-month-old baby when he shot her. So I'm going to try to see if I can't find some later on some court docs about this kid. I'm not sure how easily accessible they'll be because he's a minor, but I'm assuming if they decide to charge him as an adult, it would be probably easier to get, those documents. Lacey, and I don't have children, but I agree. If my kids were posting pictures like that, to hell with them getting presents. Yeah. And yeah, Google's watching. I agree. Google's watching says, where is your comment? I just lost it. Oh, there it is. Parents don't know everything about their kids. How many snuck out without their parents knowing, for example? Right. Bumma says, I was a helicopter mom, had software on their electronics, so I knew what they were up to. I was a bit cray-cray, but the third one, I didn't have as much energy to keep up with. Oh, well, yeah. I can see how that is. I've watched this once already, if I remember correctly. He's been in trouble. Yes. In the first article that I had read from USA Today, they did state that they had been involved in several car burglaries. Yes. All right.
The second is Darkus Coley. He's a 15-year-old Black male. Date of birth is January 31st, 2008. And his charges are attempted first-degree murder and tampering with physical evidence. And both of them are in the photographs to my left, to your right, and they're brothers. So this is what happened. On Christmas Eve, as I said, December 24th, Abrielle Baldwin, her 10-month-old son, her 6-year-old son, her 14-year-old brother, DeMarcus, her 15-year-old brother, Darkus, and their mother, Joyce Birch, who's a Black female with a date of birth of June 25th, 1984, went Christmas shopping at a store here in Largo. While they're shopping, 15-year-old Darkus was jealous that their mother, Joyce, was getting 14-year-old DeMarcus more gifts than he was receiving. So they had this family spat about who was getting what and what money was being spent on who. And they're having this big thing going on in the store, and they're all arguing with each other. They left the store and headed to their grandmother's house.
And then they were shopping clearly with mom. So I'm guessing mom probably brought them to the store and said, because when I was younger, Christmas, we didn't know what we were getting. I mean, now my parents will ask us, what do you want for Christmas? And one year I got tires. Another year I got pillows, garbage can, adult things. This year, I was a little more less adult and picked an ice cream maker. So, I don't get it. Like, that these kids, well, I mean, the one kid was probably mad because his brother shot his sister. Just looking at the 14-year-old, him shooting his sister because she asked him not to start, fighting or to stop fighting, and then he shoots her. I mean, I just don't get how you can be so reactive when someone is just saying, "Can you please stop?" It's bizarre to me. I just can't comprehend.
Which is where the incident happened at 2357 22nd Avenue Southwest in Largo. They all piled into one car and they were heading over to her house. The Coleys, along with Joyce Birch, lived at 608 Westminster Boulevard in Oldsmar. They were going to their grandmother's house because she was going to watch Bree's 6-year-old and 11-month-old baby when she went to work. So they got there to this house on 22nd Avenue Southwest at about 1:45 p.m. on Sunday. Darkus, who's the 15-year-old, entered the home and went into the kitchen with his grandmother. DeMarcus, the 14-year-old, stood in the doorway because, again, they're all arguing and they're having this big spat about what happened while shopping and who's getting what and who didn't get what for Christmas. So this is just normal what people do when they have these young kids getting spats like this.
And then that makes me wonder, and again, maybe I'm being a little condescending here, but here these two kids were arguing over who got more. So it seems like the one kid was jealous of the other kid. So you have these two, arguing about how much mom spent on them. Did they ever think, and this is where, children's brains are still developing, did they realize at the time that what they would be getting was arrested and charged with, in the 14-year-old's case, first-degree murder? And, the 15-year-old, even though what he did, I don't condone that behavior, in anger, he shot his 14-year-old brother. I mean, I'm assuming that they didn't think that they would be end up getting charged with first-degree murder for the 14-year-old and attempted murder for the 15-year-old. So, just that reaction, immediate reaction, instead of, okay, what would the consequences be if I shoot my sister? Did he plan for his sister to die? I can't answer that. I would hope no. But yet now the only thing they're getting for Christmas is a jail cell. And that's really unfortunate.
And of course, I'm saying this sarcastically because he's all mad at his brother about what his brother was getting and is not getting. He stood in the doorway and he took out his .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun and he pointed it at Darkus and told him he was going to shoot him in the head. So you got the 14-year-old who's mad at the 15-year-old because mom's not buying equal amounts of gifts. They get to grandma's house and he takes out his gun and tells him he's going to shoot him in the head. So DeMarcus tries to get Darkus to fight. Darkus said he didn't want to fight and told him to get out of the house, and he didn't want anything to do with him. One of the boys' uncles was present in the home.
And actually, Sinner did bring up a really good point. And so now I'm thinking about what they had said before. So Sinner had said, how do we know the brother wasn't eliminating the threat? So again, the sheriff just said that when they got home from shopping at the grandma's house, the 14-year-old had told the 15-year-old, because they were arguing, I'm going to shoot you in the head. So Sinner's question is actually, I make sense now, because the 15-year-old, maybe he thought his 14-year-old brother was going to turn on him next. So he maybe it was self-defense. Maybe that's why he shot his brother, is because he thought he was going to be next, because the threat was there. I mean, and again, that'll all hopefully come out as, you know, the case progresses, but just craziness. And I'm a Baffled says, I thought that also maybe the son was trying to protect the sister and the rest of the family. Possible. Right, because who knows what this 14-year-old would do. I mean, yes, I agree, Brianna, and that's why I had said earlier, when he was taken to a mental facility for evaluation after expressing self-harm, it makes you wonder, you know? I mean, and then when they said, the sheriff said when they were arguing, the 14-year-old pulled out a gun. That tells me that he had that gun while they were at the store shopping as well. So if the argument hadn't gone to their grandma's house or had continued, what would happen if the argument reached its climax at the store with other people around? It could have, you know, like, it just is so bizarre to me. So Katie, I think that's where now I think this is where he gets into, one of the uncles was at the home as well. So hopefully we'll get an answer to your question.
Home, and excuse me, he separated them by moving DeMarcus out of the house and moving him out into the driveway area. This is the house here to my right, again to your left, and that's the door where he was standing into, and that's the driveway area that he moved him out to, where this happened. And so DeMarcus left the doorway. Darkus is still in the house in the kitchen. DeMarcus was standing by a parked vehicle in the driveway when Abrielle told DeMarcus, quote, "You all need to leave that stuff alone. Why are you trying to start it? It's Christmas." And at that point, Abrielle was in the driveway and she was carrying her 10-month-old baby in a carrier in her hand.
So he's saying 10-month-old. The article, as well as the news clip, had said 11-month-old. So it was an infant. We can agree on that. A baby.
DeMarcus then began arguing with Abrielle and used some very, very derogatory language that I won't repeat at all, and all kinds of profanity. He was calling her a whore and all kinds of other stuff, and stated that he was going to shoot her and that he was going to, quote, shoot the baby too. Yeah. DeMarcus then moved toward Abrielle and shot her in the chest with a .40 caliber semi-automatic handgun, again, while she's carrying the baby. Abrielle fell to the ground, so did the baby. The baby wasn't hurt because the baby was in a carrier. So when DeMarcus falls to the ground, Darkus comes out of the house. And again, Darkus is 15, and he takes out his .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun because, again, I'll say this sarcastically, just normal that all these kids, that's what you do, right? You just carry handguns. When you get in a spat with your sibling, you take out your guns and you have a...
And this sheriff, I do love him because he tells it like it is. And, you know, yeah, so, I don't like that, you're talking to me like that, I'm going to pull out my gun and shoot you. With the 14-year-old. Like, you don't tell me what to do, so I'm going to pull out my gun and shoot you. So I'm going to show you. And then the brother comes out of the house, pulls out his gun. I mean, and the scary thing is that's how it is in the inner city. And I'm sure probably in some rural places as well, but this is what's happening on the streets of America. As much as we may not want it to be, this is happening more frequently than we know, with juveniles carrying loaded weapons. And it's not so much knives anymore. I mean, some still do carry knives, but there's a lot of gun violence.
Gun battle. So he takes out his gun and tells DeMarcus. So Darcus tells DeMarcus, quote, "You shot my MF sister." And then Darcus shot DeMarcus one time in the stomach. So DeMarcus falls to the ground.
So I'm assuming that this is the gun that was retrieved. I'm assuming, and that I would assume is it was fully loaded. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a gun person. I would assume that the magazine was fully loaded, or the magazine.
And when Darcus shot DeMarcus, DeMarcus was unarmed, and there's about an 8-second gap between the time.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually, because I was looking at chat and I wanted to actually, I'm gonna just back up a tiny bit here. I had seen Brianna's comment, so let me. Right, so Brianna had said, "How do you parent your kids perfectly if you're working 2 jobs to feed and clothe them?" And that is something, excuse me, that I agree with your question, because there are students I have now, their parents work overnights or they work double shifts. And it's sad, but a lot of these kids are raising themselves and their siblings. So, when the kids are at school, the parents are sleeping, and then when the kids get home, the parents are working because of circumstance. And again, it's not, we don't know their circumstance. And it's, they try their best, and kids are going to do what kids are going to do. And I know, speaking to a lot of my students' parents, their parents are doing their best as well as they can. And some of them don't know what to do. And, they're just doing their best. We have metal detectors, and it does get a lot of the weapons. We've had knives try to get through, and I don't think we've ever had guns, but I definitely know knives. So, I mean, it's easy to judge, but then just thinking about, we don't know their circumstance. We don't know, what they are trying to do to make, their kids better.
MF sister, and then Darcus shot DeMarcus one time in the stomach. So DeMarcus falls to the ground, and when Darcus shot DeMarcus was unarmed, and there's about an 8-second gap between the time that DeMarcus shot Bree, and then Darcus comes out and shoots DeMarcus, and when he shot him, he no longer had possession of the gun.
Okay, so the 15-year-old shot the 14-year-old when he no longer had possession of the gun. So I'm going to let it, but I saw that there was like, I just wanted to read again about the boys and the car break-ins. If I can find it. Because I was thinking about that as they were talking. Oh, here. I think it's here. Yes, the two teenage brothers had been arrested in connection with numerous car burglaries in May. So, and then the sheriff had, before that, he had said most of the stolen guns are either sold on the street or have been taken out of unlocked cars. And then that's when he stated that the two teenage brothers had been arrested in connection with numerous car burglaries back in May.
Darkus, the 15-year-old, then ran, threw his gun in a nearby yard, fled to a relative's house up in Clearwater, where we subsequently arrested him. Unfortunately, Abrielle Baldwin was transported to Largo Medical Center Hospital here in Largo with a single gunshot wound to her chest, and she was pronounced dead at the hospital. Basically, the round went in through her left arm into her chest area, went across, went into both lungs, all kinds of internal bleeding. She bled out and it popped both lungs. She couldn't breathe.
Oh my God.
DeMarcus was transported to a hospital where he underwent surgery. He's in custody, remains in the hospital, is in stable condition, and upon release, he'll be transferred to the custody of the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. The Pinellas Pasco State Attorney's Office is going to review the case and decide whether to charge DeMarcus as an adult with the first-degree murder of his sister. Darkus, again, the 15-year-old, made self-harm statements after we picked him up at the location where he was in Clearwater, and he is right now in a secure mental health facility, and he'll be charged with attempted first-degree murder and tampering with evidence and transported to the Pinellas Juvenile Assessment Center upon his release from the mental health facility. The .40 caliber handgun that DeMarcus used to shoot his sister was recovered at the scene, and the .45 caliber handgun that Darkus used to shoot DeMarcus has not been recovered. Again, when he ran, he tossed it in the backyard. We've searched that area out there. We can't find it. And the unfortunate reality is probably going to be used in the next crime because somebody probably picked it up, and there are all kinds of people over there. And as I'm going to talk about here in about 1 second, there's way too many guns out there on the street, way too many crime guns out there, way too many stolen guns. Everybody's got a gun these days. And the sad part is that thing's going to be used in another crime because somebody picked it up. As you can see behind me in the photograph, DeMarcus, again, the 14-year-old,
I just have to go back. I was looking at chat. Did he say that the gun? Oh, right, because he threw the gun. Did they not find the gun? Okay, I need to go back because I wasn't listening, and I need to listen.
In about 1 second, there's way too many guns out there on the street, way too many crime guns out there, way too many stolen guns. Everybody's got a gun these days. And the sad part is that thing's going to be used in another crime because somebody picked it up. As you can see behind me in the photograph, DeMarcus, again, the 14-year-old, recently posted a photo to Snapchat pointing the gun that he used to kill his sister at the camera.
Oh.
So this is within the last couple days, and this is a Snapchat photo. That's DeMarcus pointing that gun, which is this gun, which we recovered there at the scene, which is the gun that he used to kill his sister. So there's the Snapchat photo, and there's the gun that he used to kill his sister. According to...
Thank you, Reaper. That's what I thought he was saying, is that they couldn't find the gun. So sadly, someone's going to find it and use it in another crime. Oh my gosh.
Many people that we interviewed out there, all kinds of people, family members, young, old, everybody across the board, is that both DeMarcus...
So the boy that ran was the 15-year-old.
and Darkus carried guns all the time. They routinely carried firearms on them. People knew it. That's what they did. And a lot of it, they claim, is because of recent ongoings in the Ridgecrest Baskins area where they were accosted. And we've had a number of incidents I'll talk about in a second over there in the last couple of months. But again, these young kids, 14, 15 years old, routinely carry firearms. And this is what happens when you got young delinquents that carry guns. They get upset. They don't know how to handle stuff. So they just take out their guns and start shooting each other. And one of them kills his sister, who's a mom to a 10-month or 11-month-old baby and a 6-year-old boy. So how are they getting these guns? Well, it's real easy. They're getting them because they're either buying them on the street cheap, and they're all stolen guns. And for these two guys, they're getting them because they're stealing them from unlocked cars. They're out in the middle of the night doing car burglaries. Both DeMarcus and Darcus were arrested for committing numerous car burglaries in Oldsmar, where they live on Westminster Avenue, back in May of this year. DeMarcus, the 14-year-old, has arrests dating back to when he was 12 years old. Think about this. He has arrests dating back to when he was 12. He's only 14 now, okay? But 2 years ago, he has arrests for being a minor in possession of a gun,
Wow.
grand theft auto burglaries, loitering and prowling.
Oh my God. At 12. And I mean, I know it's happening because, you know, I work in the inner city, but a 12-year-old being arrested, possession of a gun, grand theft auto burglaries, loitering. Crazy.
Disorderly conduct, battery on a school employee, and battery on a law enforcement officer.
Battery on a school employee and battery on a law enforcement officer. So I'm curious, and again, his records are probably sealed because he's a minor, but I'm curious if to what, if any, consequences this kid had to face for those actions. Because grand theft auto, I mean, gun possession, I mean, that's pretty significant. Battery on a school employee, on a law enforcement officer. Honestly, I'm surprised he wasn't in juvenile detention. I mean, that seems pretty significant.
Sure. He's only 14. Darcus was also arrested in May for committing numerous auto burglaries. Many of those cases are still pending. In the dispositions with DeMarcus previously is that what's he get? Probation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for answering my question. And again, I apologize. I didn't listen to the entire press conference ahead of time, but I'm glad that the questions that I'm asking are being answered by the sheriff. So for all of that, gun possession, grand theft auto, battery on a school employee, battery on a law enforcement officer, he gets probation.
The problem is you got way too many kids out there with way too many guns, and they're getting them because they're buying them on the street, cheap, $50 for a gun, whatever, breaking into cars, and they're stealing the guns out of the unlocked cars. And I've talked about this a long time, and those of you who have been around here for a while remember going back now to December of 2014. Charlie Condek, Tarpon Springs police officer, shot and killed. Where did the gun come from that killed Officer Condek? An unlocked car burglary, because people leave their guns in their cars. And these punks, these thugs, go out and break into the cars, they take the guns, and they use them for crime, and they kill people. Like they killed Charlie Condek, and like DeMarcus Coley killed his sister. So just in the last 30 days alone, just in our system, and this doesn't include St. Pete Police Department, it doesn't include Largo Police Department, it doesn't include Pinellas Park Police Department, just in our system alone, and this is what was reported, and they're not all reported because people don't report them all. Just in our system alone, in the last 30 days, we've taken reports where 17 guns have been stolen from unlocked cars.
17 guns.
I get some people say, look, I can do what I want. I can
17 guns stolen in 30 days. So, and those are the ones reported. It's unfathomable how many probably actually are being stolen. Some of those guns stolen were probably stolen to begin with. So you're not going to report a gun that you stole when it gets stolen. That's insane. 17 gun reports of guns being stolen from unlocked cars in 30 days.
leave my car's unlocked. I can leave my gun in my car. It's not the responsible thing to do, but they do it.
Right, K-Braze. Whether it's locked or unlocked, it's still burglary. But if it was locked, the opportunity for, as the sheriff said, this thug to steal it is much less.
And the problem is the thugs that are stealing them. And I agree with that. The problem is don't steal people's stuff. But the reality is that you got punks like this out there, criminals out there like this that are doing it and going to do it. And then they're going to go and hurt people. And people can't leave their car doors unlocked and leave their guns in their cars. It's got to stop. See, you couple that with, since September, just in the Ridgecrest Baskins area alone, which is where this happened, a couple miles to the west of here, we've had 13 shootings or incidents involving guns in that area. And according to everybody's carrying guns over there. All these kids are carrying guns. And again, they're getting them from where I just said. So this proliferation of guns on the streets and guns in this area and guns in the hands of these kids is the worst I've ever seen it. I don't think we've ever seen it this bad. I really think that we need tougher laws to deal with these kids. As you can see with their criminal histories, they are not getting the consequences that they should get that keep them from doing it again and again and again, or deterring others from doing it again and again and again. And I really hope the Florida legislature in the upcoming legislative session will get serious about it and will pass legislation that will hold these kids accountable and help us to slow this down. Because if we don't slow it down, we got a big problem. And I've never seen it as bad as it is with the number of crime guns that are on the street and the number of shootings and the number of people that we come across that are illegally carrying guns. And again, they're getting them out of unlocked cars. That's primarily where they're coming from. And all we can do is ask people, really plead with people, don't leave your guns in the unlocked cars. And deal with people like this. Enough of this slap on the wrist. Enough of this, you get arrested because you got a gun, you steal a car, you hit a cop, battery on a school board employee. That was another charge that DeMarcus had. You got all this stuff. And what happens to him? Oh, well, he's only 14. He really doesn't understand what's going on. We'll just give him probation. It's not working. It is not working. And if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you always got. It needs to change. The laws need to change. We need to get serious and then we need to get tough, and these kids need to get locked up. Send a message. So now you got a 11-month-old and a 6-year-old boy that their mom's dead. You don't ever get undead.
Nope, sure don't.
At the hands of a punk who was upset because he didn't get enough Christmas presents from his mom. And it's ridiculous.
And now he's not getting any Christmas presents from his mom. Instead, then again, I may be misspeaking because he got probation the last time, but I would hope that because he's being charged with first-degree murder, that he wouldn't be released. But I mean, he got a jail cell for Christmas.
Anybody got any questions?
You mentioned grandma and uncle were home at the time. Were they involved in any way? How are they doing at this point?
Well, I mean, they were involved in it. You know, the uncle tried to separate them. They knew that it was going south. They knew that they were arguing. And again, everybody, really everybody, knew that these guys carried guns all the time. So, it was common knowledge.
So they weren't hit at all with any bullets or anything like that? They weren't shot?
No, everybody's fine. The only person, again, it was 2 shots that were fired. Is that 1 shot from DeMarcus into his sister and 1 shot from Darkus into DeMarcus. So 2 shots. That's all it takes.
Can you also spell Abrielle's name?
Sure. It's Abrielle.
Last name?
Baldwin. Baldwin.
Sheriff, you were really specific there on the length of time between the 2 shots being fired. Just curious how you can be that specific.
There's an audio recording of it.
911 was called or something.
That was so. There's a neighbor that has outdoor cameras, and while the shooting itself is not captured on the cameras, the audio of the shooting is. So you can hear shot, and then 8 seconds later, the second shot. That's how we know.
You said a few words already. Can you just say a little bit more about Abrielle and what you know about her? And now, she's got 2 kids. Well, what's going to happen to them now?
Sure. I don't know. I guess mom, grandma, somebody will step in, take over. She was working at an assisted living facility. She's just a woman going about life, doing her thing with her 2 kids, trying to make a living, trying to make it. And, her brother killed her. And why did her brother kill her? Because what she said was, knock it off. Leave it alone. Why are you doing this? It's Christmas. Why are you getting all upset? So he goes over and puts a bullet in her, tears up her insides, and kills her. Leaves her dead in the driveway.
So they're all brothers and sisters here, right? Just all siblings.
Yep. So Bree, DeMarcus, Darkus, they're all brother, sister. Yep. And again, it goes back to there's a reason why the law says it's not strict enough. Right now, and I hope this changes this legislative session, right now, a minor in possession of a firearm is a misdemeanor. This guy's had prior minor.
A minor in possession of a firearm is a misdemeanor? You'd think that the penalties for juveniles with guns would be a little, if not the same, more strict than those for adults, because legally they can't own a gun. Like a misdemeanor. So that explains why earlier when he said that, DeMarcus had been arrested and charged with gun possession, grand theft auto, battery. Well, the gun possession was a misdemeanor. I'm curious to know, what is grand theft auto? Is that a misdemeanor too because he was 12?
They're in possession charges. You don't get anything out. There's no consequence for it. And this is why the law, though, says that kids shouldn't have firearms. But the law doesn't mean anything to people like this. They don't care about the law. I mean, they're out breaking into cars in the middle of the night, stealing guns, doing all kinds of other stuff, loitering and prowling, all the stuff that's in his history, hitting cops, hitting school board employees, everything else. They don't care about that stuff. But there's a reason why they can't have. They're not old enough to understand and have the right coping mechanisms to deal with the stuff when they are upset. I mean, the fact that you get upset, you get 2 14, 15-year-olds that get upset with each other because one got more. I mean, that happens. I mean, that's kid stuff, but not with guns.
Right, exactly.
Where are you at in terms of the testing of the firearms you do have? I assume you'll try to figure out if someone ever reported this gun stolen.
Yeah, so we're obviously looking at that. That's a big part of the investigation. Right now, I can tell you that the .40 caliber that DeMarcus had that we recovered was that Smith & Wesson, which is that one, the one you see behind me here, is that it is not in the system been reported as stolen. It's stolen. It came out of a car. Somebody just didn't report it. And sometimes they report it as stolen, and they'll report their gun stolen, but they don't have the serial number because they don't keep it. So they report it to us, but we can't put it in the system, or another agency can't put it in the system unless you got a serial number for it. So it may well have been reported, but nobody had the serial number, or it wasn't reported. It's stolen. So we have some systems that we can use through the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, through ATF, where we can check the projectiles to see if that gun has been used in other crimes. And we're in the process of doing that. That takes some time. Now, the second gun that Darkus had, we haven't recovered. We've got casings from it, from the firing of the firearm, but we don't have the firearm itself. Like I said, that's still out on the street, unfortunately.
Do you have a picture of Abrielle that we could use?
We'll see if we can get you one.
And speaking of a photo of Abrielle, I couldn't find a GoFundMe I did find a GoFundMe link, but I had to pay in order to read the article with the link. So I did go to GoFundMe and I did put in Abrielle's name. And so this is a photo of Abrielle with her baby and her 6-year-old son. And this GoFundMe was created by her stepmom. So I will have this in the description after the live, but I will also drop the link in the chat as well. But this is a photo of her with her baby and little boy. It didn't have to happen.
I'm not sure if we do. We'll see what we can get you.
So, Sheriff, I was wondering, you are asking for changing the laws because right now they are not strict enough. We have this violence, this gun violence with teenagers. So right now, if the authorities would be to stop these teenagers with these guns that are stolen, what will happen to them?
Well, today, with a lot of the offenses that kids commit involving guns is that there's no mandate that they go into what is called in the juvenile system residential programs, which is really jail or prison, that they get sentenced to a period of time. You get these kids that are minors in possession of firearms. 14, 15-year-olds like this shouldn't have guns. 14, 15-year-olds with dad or grandpa going out hunting, that's fine. Go for it. It's responsible. There's no issues with it. But 14, 15-year-olds carrying guns in their waistbands, walking around the neighborhood, just waiting for something to happen, no. And the problem is that today it's a misdemeanor. You're not going to get anything. And so they're doing it with impunity. They're walking around with these guns with impunity. And, when you score under the guidelines by committing these car burglaries, and they're taking these guns, or they're just out there committing these car burglaries, that are doing the grand thefts, and they're doing all of what they're doing, is that the consequences aren't there. And this is where you end up with these kids, that it takes many, many, many times for them to score at the right level where there's consequences. So what I'm saying is that we need to change it, and we've got to provide some swift, harsh consequences up front to punish the conduct and to deter the misconduct of others, and have there be some skin in it. Make them realize that this is going to be unpleasant.
And avoid a tragedy like this one.
What's that?
And avoid a tragedy like this one.
Yeah, no, trying to avoid the tragedy. That's what we want to do. That's the whole reason for it, is to try and avoid the tragedy, like you said, and to try and keep it from happening. And the only way to do it is to send a message. And the message is, we're not going to put up with it. But unless the consequences are there, we can say we're not going to put up with it. But guess what? We as a society, we as a criminal justice, we are putting up with it, because we let them have these multiple bites at the apple. I went through what DeMarcus's criminal history is. He's got all this stuff in the past, and he doesn't care. Obviously, he doesn't care, because if he cared, he wouldn't do it.
How long ago was his most recent arrest?
A few months ago.
Both of them have equal type histories or charges.
Actually, DeMarcus has more than Darkus does. Darkus's history isn't that extensive. DeMarcus's history is pretty extensive. It is less, actually. Yeah.
Is there a plan for increased law enforcement activity in the neighborhood where this occurred?
We have been. We've had increased presence and patrols out there in the last couple months because of this problem with guns. But in this type of a situation where it's used in a domestic type environment, we could put 1,000 cops out there, ain't going to stop it. So what we're trying to do with the increased patrols out there is deal with the street crime, deal with people that are using the guns when they're selling drugs, when they're doing robberies, when they're carjacking, when they're doing all kinds of other street related stuff. And we're trying to get the guns off the street, and we've had some success with it by being very intensive with the patrols that we've had out there and putting extra people out there. So we have, and we'll continue to do that. But there's nothing we can do to stop that other than get the guns out of these guys' hands and not have them have guns to begin with. We can't stop that kind of thing. There's nothing we can do on that directly. Now, indirectly, again, with what I'm talking about and consequences in the system and people not leaving their guns in their cars, those kinds of things. But we could put a cop on every street over there in Ridgecrest Baskins or in any other community, and that's not going to stop that.
When it comes to talking about people leaving their guns in their cars or leaving them unlocked, is there any kind of penalty towards them if that gun is found to be stolen? I mean, do you think something like that needs to change as well?
No, it is that, and the question is, and this comes up, because as you're asking the questions and people watching, they can't hear the question. So it's the question is, should there be consequences against people for leaving their cars unlocked and leaving their guns in their cars? Is there consequence was your first question, and the answer was no. And the second question, should there be? I don't think so. The problem.
Yeah, I agree with the sheriff. I mean, to make it a law that people have to lock their vehicles, I think is a little extreme, at least in my opinion. I mean, I had a friend of mine in college had this beater car. Like, it was old. It was this red station wagon. It was hideous. And he would leave the car unlocked on purpose, hoping that someone would steal it, because then he would be able to get a new car because he had, theft insurance. No one ever did steal it. So it didn't work. But it also, back then Civics were, the car to steal. But I agree with the sheriff here, like, to making locking your doors illegal, that's just a little extreme in my opinion.
Problem is them. Okay? It's an ask of people. Help us, because we got a problem. And our problem is them. If somebody parks their car in the driveway, and some people do it mistakenly, they just didn't mean to. Other people, and I tell you, because we talk to people about it, and some people say, look, this is my property, this is my house, this is my car, this is my driveway. If I want to leave my car unlocked and I want to leave my wallet and my gun and my stuff in my car, I should have a right to do that. And, they got a point. But, okay, I hear you, and you're right. And that's why there shouldn't be any consequence for it. But we got a problem, so help us. That's why I'm asking and pleading it, help us. Because until we can do something to tighten guys like this up, is they're going to keep taking your stuff. But people do it, and some people, again, make a mistake. Others, that's just what they do. Is say, I'm just not locking my car.
And you said he was shot in the stomach. Is he still in the hospital right now?
He is. Mm-hmm.
What's his condition?
He's stable. Well, he's torn up pretty good. His intestines, they had to remove part of his intestines and do some other things in surgery, but he's.
And so I was thinking about this earlier, and undecided whether or not I was going to kind of bring this up, but I don't find it routine that, law enforcement gives this extensive detail to the media in instances of this. When the sheriff had talked about Abrielle and her injuries, and then now he's giving the graphic nature of DeMarcus's injuries. I mean, it's a little, I don't know, I just find it a little insensitive, maybe.
Stable. He'll be in the hospital, but probably the best projection, I just got off the phone before I came down here. Best projection is he'll probably be in the hospital for about a week or so. And then again, we'll transfer him to the Department of Juvenile Justice custody once he's released from the hospital. All right. Thanks, everybody. All right. So we're here.
All right. So that is what I have on that story. So again, a temper tantrum, DeMarcus had a temper tantrum because Darkus was, in his view, his brother was, getting more valuable Christmas gifts than he was from their mom. So not only did they argue at the store, but they brought the argument home with them. And when their 23-year-old sister, carrying her 11-month-old baby, had said, knock it off, stop fighting, it's Christmas, DeMarcus decided to take out his gun and shoot her. And before that, threatened to shoot the baby as well. And so, I'm assuming hearing or seeing what had happened, Darkus comes out, the 15-year-old brother, and shoots his 14-year-old brother in the stomach, and then runs, throws the gun somewhere. The gun is still missing. And so now the 14-year-old who shot their sister and ultimately killed her is being charged with first-degree murder. The 15-year-old who shot his 14-year-old brother is now facing attempted murder charges. So it's a really, really crazy story, and again, just shows that, a lot of kids are reactive and they don't know how to just stop. The sister just said, knock it off. And having, I think, the neighbor having that audio surveillance where you could just hear things, I mean, I believe is going to give a lot of context to what actually happened. And like the sheriff said, 8 seconds passed between the first shot and the second shot. So 8 seconds it took to seemingly destroy an entire family because of gun violence. And ultimately because someone was having a temper tantrum over Christmas gifts. So the last story, it's a much more not as dismal, I guess you could say. And this is about a man who was in a car accident on the highway. And give me 1 second. I keep hitting the wrong button. And I do have the GoFundMe in the description of this, but I will also, actually, I'm going to share this instead first. I will share the link in the chat as well. So this is Matt, and you can see his goal is almost, it actually has gone up quite a bit since I looked at it not too long ago. $80,000 goal. He's almost to his goal. And so it says, "Hi, my name is Haley Traxler. I'm one of Matt's good friends. Recently, he was in an accident on I-94 and stuck in his truck that rolled for 6 days. His legs were stuck and he was unable to move due to that. He is looking at an amputation more than likely. He has several broken bones throughout his body. He is alive, and that's what we care about, most through this hard time. He needs all the love and support he can get. He is the most kind-hearted human I've ever met, would do anything for you, even if he barely knew you or at all. He works for the Boilermakers Union 374 out of Hobart, but lives in South Bend, Indiana. If you can help out in any way, it would be greatly appreciated. Matt is thankful for anyone who can contribute." So again, there he is. And so I have 2 videos about Matt, and then I'll give some last thoughts.
We are getting our first look at the Indiana man who survived days in his wrecked truck under.
And so you can see he was underneath this overpass, and he survived for 6 days, and then he was ultimately rescued.
Underneath I-94 in Portage. Matt Reum is smiling and giving 2 thumbs up from his hospital bed in South Bend on this GoFundMe page. Now, this story was wild. 2 fishermen found the 27-year-old in his crashed pickup truck yesterday. He told police he had been stuck there since last Wednesday. It's one of the busiest stretches of interstates in the country, yet a driver sat trapped in his truck underneath an...
Holy shit. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but I didn't realize when I watched this earlier. I mean, he's literally underneath the overpass. And so if not for those fishermen who, law enforcement had said, if not for the more mild weather, 1, he probably would not have survived. And 2, the fishermen would most likely not have been out because, it wasn't mild. So that's insane.
I-94 overpass for almost a week.
One more day and something could have been very different here.
Mario Garcia and his son-in-law were fishing on Tuesday afternoon in Portage when he noticed the mangled mess.
I looked inside and moved the white airbag, and there was a body in there.
He said,
"Oh, let me just go back. This just gave me chills. Holy crap." So there's the truck. I mean, that is definitely a mangled mess. And to think that anyone, I mean, obviously, if I saw that, I would be like, "Oh my God, is there anybody inside?" And then, to see someone inside after moving the airbag and then seeing that they're still alive, I mean, holy moly.
In there.
he said, "Get on the phone." I seen the person inside, the occupant, and my first instinct was call, for help.
He had a jacket almost like mine, and all I seen was this part, the shoulder, and I went to touch the shoulder, and the moment I touched the shoulder, he swung around. He woke up.
Still stuck in driving position, Garcia said the driver told them he'd been stranded and paralyzed in place since last Wednesday.
He says he tried yelling and screaming, but nobody would hear him. It was just quiet, just the sound of the water.
For 6 days, he sat there, yelling into the abyss. Help.
Okay, so this actually does show a little bit better because you can see the spotlight on the truck. So you can see that the truck, unless you were, by the creek or, you had looked over. Well, even if you looked over the overpass, I don't think you would be able to see the truck. I mean, that's a pretty precarious location.
Help was just out of reach.
His phone fell to the side. He couldn't reach it, and he was pinned very, very tight.
And Amy M,
Once Navarro.
I saw your comment, probably couldn't reach his cell phone, and yep, that's exactly what it was.
Ardo called 911, it took professional rescuers hours and hundreds of pounds of machinery.
And they had a very difficult time getting down into the creek area with their equipment to basically to cut him out and remove him.
From there, it was a balancing act to get the driver into an ambulance and then a helicopter. Now, Matt is a welder by trade, telling his union that he's grateful for the guys who found him. Police say it was a miracle he's alive and noted that the mild weather may have played a role in his ability to survive.
What a story there.
Watch breaking news on.
All right, so I have one more. Actually, it looks like I have two more. Unless I messed up. I might have two more. I do have two more because one is, yeah, we have two more videos, short clips.
We begin here at 6 with a story many are calling a miracle. A thumbs up and a smile from a man who survived nearly a week trapped under an interstate bridge.
Tonight, we are learning much more about the remarkable rescue of Matthew Reum, trapped in his truck for days before he was found along Interstate 94 in Northwest Indiana.
CBS 2's Lauren Victory is live in the newsroom with that 911 call and more. Lauren?
Joe and Marie, a lot of people across the country are paying attention to this story. The victim's friends say he needs a couple days to process what happened before he reveals how he survived. Here's what we know about him and the moments leading up to his rescue.
Dude, that's crazy. I came down here to...
Oh my God. Like, I'm wondering, and again, I mean, my analytical brain is wondering how the heck he ended up in that, not only that location, I mean, obviously he rolled his car as of what we had heard before, or what his friend had said on the GoFundMe, but then he ended up, almost like backed up underneath the overpass. I mean, it is truly a miracle that this guy survived, in my opinion. I mean, and so they do have the 911 call. I will rewind a little bit. Dude, that's crazy. I came down here to check for fishing, and he's down here in the car.
Dude, that's crazy. I came down here to check for fishing, and he's down here in the car.
You're listening to a 911 call that led to this complicated rescue near Portage.
Oh my, okay, so now I'm even, and again, I didn't watch these full videos because I knew that most likely they wouldn't need to be edited or, anything like that. But so this is the driver's side right here where my cat is. And then the front end. I mean, and I don't know what kind of truck that is, but clearly it's made pretty well considering the amount of damage it sustained, and that, the driver was trapped because the front end had crushed in on his legs, yet he was still alive.
Northwest Indiana. Two fishermen walking along Salt Creek spotted a mangled truck underneath a bridge. Then they made an astonishing discovery.
And I looked inside and moved the white airbag, and there was a body in there. And I went to touch it, and he turned around.
The driver, now identified as 27-year-old Matt Reum, was alive but stuck. Navardo De La Torre called 911.
Yeah, you guys might need the jaws of life to open the doors. His truck's pretty wrecked.
You can hear De La Torre yelling to the victim while on the phone.
They're on their way, buddy. They're on their way.
Friends posted this picture of Reum in the hospital, smiling with a thumbs up. Notice the cast. They say he has several broken bones. CBS 2 also learned that doctors amputated his left leg below his knee.
This man was very, very lucky.
It's really remarkable.
CBS 2 tapped two independent medical experts to understand more about the odds of surviving so long in the elements. Reum was trapped in his truck for 6 days before getting help. He told rescuers he drank rainwater.
You can survive from weeks to months without food, without solid food, but you can only go a handful of days, if even, without water.
Going back to 7th grade biology, but why does the body need water?
So water is essential to life. It's hard to survive a long time without water. Whereas food, we have energy stores inside of our body.
We're told Reum couldn't call for help himself and was stuck for 6 days because his cell phone was just out of reach. Can you imagine? He remains in critical condition. Late today, Reum released a statement through a hospital spokesperson. He's requesting privacy while he heals and says he is grateful for all the support he's received.
Yes. So again, I have just one more. And so this is the sheriff. So this is just a short clip of the sheriff who spoke out after the rescue.
A shocking story out of Northwest Indiana, and today police have released the name of the man trapped in his crashed truck for nearly a week under an overpass. Police say 27-year-old Matthew Reum is lucky to be alive.
And joining us now, first at 4 to run us through some elements of this really incredible story of survival is Indiana State Police Sergeant Glenn Fifield to discuss this case. Sergeant Fifield, thank you for being on the program. We really appreciate it.
And thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So update us on what the condition of this young man was when he was discovered. He looked like he was all smiles in his hospital bed.
Yeah, from that picture that somebody has posted online, he's definitely, I spoke with him this afternoon on the phone briefly, and he's definitely in good spirits. And I would be too if surviving something like that for 6 days. He's gone through a lot. He's got a long road of recovery ahead of him. And based upon his demeanor, his personality, I have no doubt that he's going to overcome any challenges that are presented to him.
Well, it seems like he's got a lot of community support and a lot of friends behind him. I assume something like this is pretty rare, but if it does happen to a driver, what's your best advice?
Boy, that's a great question, Natalie. The best thing you can do is try to stay warm. We say all the time about winter preparedness when you travel. You don't think about water until it's too late. Pack emergency supplies, have them nearby.
And while I agree with what the sheriff is saying, I feel in this circumstance with this young kid, having water may not have been, may not have helped him in the situation, considering he was trapped and his car was so mangled. But I agree with him. Always have, I always have, like me, I have water, I have blankets. I have a lot of junk that doesn't need to be in there, but, having certain things in there just in case you do get stranded or something like that.
This situation, he couldn't get to anything based upon where he's at, and he survived on rainwater. But it's really important that you let people know where you're going, your route of travel, so that if you don't arrive, people will know a general area where to look for you. But just be prepared so that you're not caught off guard.
Yeah, I tons of questions, surfaced for me when I found out he was there for almost 6 days, how he wasn't.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's and even I hadn't seen that aerial view, but crazy.
Tracked there to his location. Also, how big of a role the weather played here. Sergeant Fifield, you mentioned he survived on rainwater. It was also unusually mild for this time of year.
Yeah, you're right. We hadn't had any reports of any crashes in that area. Nobody saw anything. I did speak to him and found out it did happen in the late hours of last Wednesday. But yeah, he had a lot of things in his favor. The weather, as everybody knows, has been unseasonably warm. No snow, thank goodness. And the mild temperatures, we didn't have any below freezing temperatures during that entire time frame. Had we have had different weather conditions, I think we'd be talking about a whole different outcome here. So the stars aligned for him during this time frame when he was trapped.
Last question for you. How long did it take emergency workers?
Yeah, and someone in chat just said, where was it? I just saw somebody. No, I can't find it. Someone had said something, maybe it was even earlier, that everything aligned. Oh, here, Misty Dawn said, the stars were aligned. So I agree. And it's amazing. I mean, and if not for those fishermen who were walking along the bank, I mean, no one would have known he was there. So again, everything
To get
aligned.
him out, and how did they rescue him?
So it took about an hour to get him out of the vehicle and get him loaded into the helicopter to be transported. The first responders, the Portage Police Department, or Portage Fire Department, and the Burns Harbor Fire Department really represented a challenge of getting their equipment down into that ravine, into the creek bed, and cutting him out. It's a dangerous situation. It was very challenging. And those folks and those individuals overcame that as well, and they were very excited to see a positive outcome in this, because quite often and quite frankly, they weren't sure what they were going to find when they went down there.
Oh my gosh, could have been so much worse. Sergeant Glenn Fifield with the Indiana State Police. Sergeant Fifield, thank you very much for being on the program.
Thank you, and if you guys can keep this warm weather coming, I'd appreciate it.
All right. So, miraculous story. So definitely a feel-good story, to end this. But I am going to also talk about, because I think it was Google is Watching had mentioned the baby from the Tennessee tornadoes back in early December. Although it doesn't seem like it was that, it seems like it was longer ago. I have a video, and then I'm going to read an article that actually shows some other stuff. Oops, hold on. All right, so we'll watch this, and then I have an article that I'm going to read, and then we'll give last thoughts.
An amazing story of survival 1 week ago tonight. It involves this 4-month-old infant who went missing when tornadoes stormed through the town of Clarksville, Tennessee, killing 3 people. Alexandra Cohen of CBS affiliate WTVF has the story.
Mangled mobile homes, splintered wood, and debris everywhere. The Holt Park mobile home community has been decimated by a tornado.
I ran to the back bedroom, jumped on top of Princeton. By the time I jumped on Princeton, the walls collapsed. And then that's when the siren went off.
Sydney Moore says she held on to her 1-year-old Princeton, and her boyfriend tried to get to their 4-month-old son, Lord.
He went to try to grab Lord out the bassinet, and the roof had already came off. And the bassinet was the first thing to go up. But Lord stayed in the bassinet, like in the air. Like he's seen him still in the bassinet in the air. Although they did 2 twirls, he said, and then they got thrown.
When it passed, she tells me, the first thing she screamed was, "Where's my baby?" You can see this up here is where her pack and play is wrapped around a tree.
Thank God he wasn't in it.
Cindy says it was the scariest moments of her life.
He finally found Lord. He was placed in a tree. Like, I swear to God, like he looked like he was placed in a tree with a gash on the side of his face right here. It was a deep, deep gash. But they glued it shut.
They had to hike a mile to get out, and Lord was rushed to the hospital with a concussion and a big cut on his ear.
Lord, he was crying, and I heard him crying, and he kept...
And thank goodness that he was crying, and she was able to, hear him. I mean, he was close enough that they could hear him. I mean, tornadoes are unpredictable. He could have, the baby could have gone much further. So thank goodness for that.
Kept like falling asleep, waking up, falling asleep, waking up.
Her boyfriend broke his collarbone. They're all banged up, but lucky to be alive.
By the grace of God, I swear, like, they survived.
Lord's bassinet is crumpled by their home. a somber reminder of what this family went through. For CBS News, Alexandra Cohen, Clarksville, Tennessee.
And again, talk about a miracle. So one last article I'll read about the baby, and this is from ABC News. So 4-month-old baby survives deadly tornado nestled in a tree like a cradle. And let's see. I'm going to play this one.
Up to the devastation from severe weather overnight, at least 6 people killed, nearly 24 tornadoes reported from an intense storm system stretching more than 1,000 miles. We will speak with the mayor of one of the hardest hit counties in just a moment.
Many homes and businesses destroyed, roofs torn right off, and debris littering the streets, power lines and trees, no match for the wind. Tens of thousands of people reported without power this morning.
And that same system is now sweeping east today. Tens of millions of Americans in the path of what's likely to bring drenching rain and flooding. Samara Theodore is here.
Oh, so I guess it was only a few weeks ago, because we got, some places of New York got like 4 inches of rain, 3 to 4 inches of rain. Yeah, seems like it was a lot longer ago.
Tracking it all. Samara, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, and so I thought this was supposed to be about the baby, but I guess it's not. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. We're gonna not watch that video. So again, Sydney Moore had just put her two young sons down for an afternoon nap when a deadly tornado tore through her hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee. Moore, 22, said she and her fiancé, Aramis Youngblood, were standing in the living room of their mobile home when they heard a huge sound that she described as like an airplane flying directly over them. Moore said she and Youngblood went into fight or flight mode to save their son's Lord, 4 months, who was sleeping in a bassinet near the front of the home, and Princeton, 1, who was asleep in a bedroom in the back of the home. As soon as I jumped on top of Princeton, the back bedroom, the walls collapsed. I remember me and Princeton got thrown onto the ground, and then we got picked up and thrown down again. But he never left my arms. And somehow, some way, I still had his pacifier clenched in my hands. And so here's a photo. This is what I wanted to show that I thought was going to be on the video. So there's a photo of her with her 1-year-old and her little baby. They're so cute. While Moore protected her eldest son, she said Youngblood ran to the front of the house to grab Lord. As the tornado passed through, both of them were swept away. In the front bedroom, Aramis was in there with Lord, and the roof came off and swept them up. The bassinet was the first thing to go. When the tornado passed, Moore said she and Youngblood were able to call out and hear each other, but they couldn't see each other and couldn't find Lord. I remember the first question I asked was, "Where's my baby?" And he said he didn't know. As Moore worked to free herself and Princeton from the debris, Youngblood, who was injured when he was thrown by the tornado, searched for their youngest son. After a 10-minute search, Youngblood found Lord nestled safely in a tree around 25 feet away. It was just like he was placed in a tree, like a little tree cradle for a baby. It was like a cubby hole in a tree at the bottom. Moore said she felt like she was watching a movie when she saw Youngblood carrying Lord back to her through the devastation from the tornado, which killed 3 people and injured nearly 24 others. I saw him walking through the woods, carrying Lord in the pouring down rain, and all of his clothes were ripped. It was like a scene in a movie. And I would agree that it was a scene seemingly from a movie, but I remember seeing that and thinking, holy cow, like exactly Cabray's miracle. And the fact that they said like it was like a little cubby in the tree where the baby was just kind of placed into it, you know, and he did have a gash on the side of his head, but otherwise, you know, seemingly okay. And I mean, I actually had forgotten about that. So thank you for reminding me, because I know I had mentioned it in one of my lives, but you know, I always, especially with the stories that I seem to cover, you know, having those, you know, feel good stories, or in this case, the last two stories of this live, truly miraculous in my opinion. So I am going to kick this popsicle stand, but I do want to appreciate everyone for being here today. It's been real, and I hope to get some things done today. Don't know if I'll be going live later. I have to talk to my co-host to see what his thoughts are. But other than that, like I said, thanks for being here. I very much do appreciate it. It was nice to get away from the drama for a little bit. And until next time, y'all, I will see you on the flip side.